Hello there. You're watching World News Program live on All 24 News. Next are the headlines. Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune holds talks with Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu. Also coming up, Russia continues targeting electricity infrastructure in many cities in the Donetsk and Donbas regions, according to Ukraine. And tensions were high in northern Kosovo on Sunday, with Serbs blocking roads after shots and explosions rang out overnight. Also in our news, Chinese capital showed timid signs of returning to normal a few days after the announcement of a general ease of health restrictions due to fears of surge in cases once more. Hello again, I'm your host, Karim Zachary. Welcome to the program. First, in our news, Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune had an official interview on Sunday with Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu. The Turkish Foreign Minister, who was on a working visit to Algeria, affirmed Turkey's efforts to enhance bilateral relations with Algeria in every field. He added that his country appreciates the role Algeria is playing for regional peace and stability.
We were received by the Algerian President, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, and here I want to extend my sincere gratitude for allowing us this opportunity. I extended warm greetings for His Excellency Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and we expressed all our congratulations regarding the success of Algeria in hosting the Arab Summit. Also, we offered him all our congratulations regarding the efforts made by Algeria for the Palestinian cause, and confirmed that we, Turkey, have complete agreement on this issue with Algeria.
And in the same context, Turkish Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu announced that his country aims to raise the value of its investment in Algeria to $10 billion, expecting that the value of trade exchanges between the two countries will exceed $5 billion by the end of the current year, an increase of 30% compared to last year. And in a message on the occasion of the 62nd anniversary of the December 11th demonstrations, President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, asserted that the task of the Algerian-French Historical Committee was to clarify the truth thoroughly. President Tebboune reaffirmed his full commitment to the history and memory file as one of his most important priorities. And in our other topical news, the European Union agreed to finance a project for the electrical interconnection between Tunisia and Italy, passing through the Mediterranean Sea. That is, to diversify energy sources from Tunisia. This came in a statement issued by the Tunisian Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Thursday evening, in which it said that the financing of the European bloc for the project amounts to 307.6 million euros. The project proposal dates back to 2003. And since then, Tunisia and Italy have been in talks to implement a joint electrical interconnection to meet the growing demand for energy, especially in Tunisia, and to diversify sources of energy supply. In a serious shift from its declared position since the start of the war in Ukraine, Africa Intelligence newspaper revealed that Morocco had compiled with an American request to supply Kiev with spare parts for T-72 tanks. Rabat is known that it owns dozens. This move has shown that the Makhzen regime is sliding with one party at the expense of another in international conflict. although the Arab Summit statement stressed the need to remain neutral in order to avoid any slip-ups. It seems that the functional role of the Moroccan regime in the region is pushing it towards it. Still with Morocco, the Moroccan government plans to increase foreign debts by more than half, along with taxes on corporate and bank profits, as a way to cover the record increase in the public budget over the next year, which is estimated at 54 billion US dollars. The Secretary General of the Moroccan Observatory Against Normalization, Aziz Hanawi, said that Moroccan people are against normalization. He added that the best evidence is the campaigns launched at the Qatar World Cup 2022 by Moroccan players and fans who raised Palestinian flags in support of the cause. On the other hand, when the deputy ambassador of the Zionist entity in Morocco had asked government officials, they explained that this did not represent the will of the Moroccan king.
The messages launched in the World Cup are very important, such as raising the flag of Palestine, because it restored our honor and dignity, and the truth of our position as Moroccan people that supports Palestine. And we will never be Zionist entity, neither normalization, nor alliance, nor interaction, or anything matter how normalization is imposed by tyranny.
And speaking of Palestine, a number of Palestinians suffocated during clashes with the Zionist occupation forces in the town of Beit Omar, north of Hebron, in the occupied West Bank. Local sources stated that the occupation authorities closed the entrance to Beit Omar with an iron gate and prevented the passage of the funeral procession of a citizen, which led to the outbreak of confrontations, during which the occupation forces fired stun grenades and tear gas. Meanwhile, the Zionist occupation forces arrested on Sunday 11 Palestinians in separate parts of the West Bank. To neighboring Libya now, members of Libya's High Council of State, the Senate, voted in an emergency session in the capital, Tripoli, to suspend communications with the House of Representatives, the Tobruk-based parliament, until the latter reverses its decision to establish a constitutional court based in Benghazi. The State Council said the decision has to be cancelled because it would exacerbate the situation and the state of division in Libya. The head of the High Council of State, Khalid al-Mashri, affirmed the need to hold an urgent session of the State Council to consider these violations.
The Council of State decided to continue the suspension until the law is repealed. The law is not considered among the legislative powers. The creation of a constitutional court is a constitutional matter, and it is a measure that undermines confidence between the two chambers. The adoption of the law will also destroy efforts to reach a consensus on the constitutional path and deepen the institutional division in the country.
President of the Transitional Government of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, addressed the nation on the Independence Day of the country. Traoré insisted that Burkina Faso has not obtained full control and full independence, as a large part of his country is still occupied, as he put it. More in Usama Ayadi's story.
On the occasion of the 62nd anniversary of independence, Burkina Faso's transitional president Ibrahim Traoré addressed the nation on national television on Saturday evening. Traoré stated that he would lead the fight against terrorism until the full independence of the country. The message seemed to be directed to Paris, as Traoré underlined that his country has not obtained its full independence. According to him, the combat of independence does not necessarily pass through arms, but also through values, behavior, and the recovery of the country's economy.
Our independence is not acquired because our lands are occupied. Our economy is in its infancy, in our hands, and our hands are tied. That's why I wanted to address you through this little message in these specific moments.
In the same context, Traoré insisted on the Burkinabe population to continue the support for the transitional government and its army. He emphasized the necessity to carry on the resistance against foreign interference in the country, as well as the continuous fight against terrorism.
The fight for total independence began a few weeks ago, and this fight necessarily goes through arms, but also through our values, our behaviors, the recovery of our economy. The battle against the enemy occupying our lands is beginning. This battle is in its preamble.
Due to the precarious security situation, the celebration of the 62nd anniversary of Burkina Faso's independence is taking place in sobriety throughout the national territory. Meanwhile, 40% of the country's territory is under the control of a terrorist group which has committed many attacks in the country. Since 2015, insecurity in Burkina Faso has claimed many lives and displaced thousands of people. More economic crises have appeared in recent years, and this includes famine and hunger.
To the Russia-Ukraine file now. The war in Ukraine goes on as Russia continues targeting electricity infrastructure in many cities in the Donetsk and Donbas regions, of which it attempts to take full control. Islam Sid reports.
The city of Odessa had been through almost total blackout on Friday night due to drone attacks by Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the situation is very difficult in the area and more than 1.5 million people are currently left without electricity.
The situation in Odessa region is very difficult. After the night strike by Iranian drones, Odessa and other cities and villages of the region are in darkness. As for now, more than 1.5 million people in Odessa region are without electricity. Only critical infrastructure is connected, and as far as it's possible, to supply electricity.
On the same day, the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut in the Donetsk region came under heavy strikes by Russian forces, as Moscow attempts to take control of the key roads leading north and west. Some buildings remain standing in the city, and few citizens still walk in the streets, while other volunteers serve food boxes to cope with the conflict.
Дуже тяжке.
Very difficult, impossible, cold without blankets. This is bad. We're freezing. It's only 3 or 5 degrees inside. We're waiting here for a stove. They told us to put your names on a list and wait. When will it end? When will it end? Oh my God.
On Saturday evening, pro-Russian authorities reported Ukrainian missile attacks on the occupied Melitopol in the country's southeast, where 2 people were killed and 10 others were wounded. Recreation center where people were dining was destroyed in the Ukrainian attack with HIMARS missiles. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia's launch of its special military operation in Ukraine was a result of ignoring his country's concerns about peace agreements between Kiev and Moscow-backed separatists. Russia put major focus on power infrastructure in its recent attacks, as it fired dozens of cruise missiles, putting pressure on the country's already struggling network that plunged millions of people into cold and darkness.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan discussed the Black Sea grain export agreement on Sunday with the leaders of Russia and Ukraine, as both sides seek changes that would boost their exports. Turkey has acted as mediator alongside the United Nations in the grain deal, which opened up Ukrainian ports for exports after a 6-month de facto Russian blockade. A dozen countries in the European Union, including Belgium, Italy, Poland, and Slovenia, have made a push to significantly lower a planned cap on gas prices. As the bloc struggles to strike a deal on the measure, the move came 4 days before an emergency meeting of EU energy ministers aimed at setting a gas price cap scheduled on December 13th. Tensions were high in northern Kosovo on Sunday, with Serbs blocking roads after shots and explosions rang out overnight. Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti requested that NATO operation KFOR, to take down the roadblocks as trucks and other heavy-duty vehicles blocked several main roads leading to 2 border crossings between Kosovo and Serbia for the second day, amid rising tensions between the government and Kosovo's Serb minority.
We call once again to NATO peacekeeping mission in Kosovo to guarantee the freedom of movement and remove roadblocks. KFOR in Kosovo is to create a calm and safe environment, which also means to have a freedom of movement. The blocking of public roads with heavy machineries to stop the freedom of movement from criminal gangs that shot at our police and EULEX police. Not that it isn't acceptable, but also should not be repeated again in the future. KFOR is asking for a little time to finish this work faster. We are waiting.
2 humanitarian boats carrying a total of 509 migrants rescued in the central Mediterranean have arrived at Italian ports after days at sea in adverse weather conditions. More with Zahra Farjani.
Italy, which has vowed a tough line on immigration, took in more than 500 migrants on Sunday as two charity rescue ships were allowed to dock at ports in the south of the country after several days at sea in bad weather. The GU Barents ship, operated by the Doctors Without Borders charity and which had 248 refugees on board, arrived in Salerno in the southwestern region of Campania on Sunday.
We have started to disembark the 448 survivors we have on board. After the port assignment, we had to sail for more than 30 hours, for more than 500 kilometers. But at least the disembarkation is happening and the people have found a great relief that at least their needs can be taken care of on shore as they should be. They are happy and relieved, satisfied, and so are we.
On the other side of the country, the Humanity One, another rescue vessel run by the charity SOS Humanity, docked in the port city of Bari after the Italian authorities agreed to grant it permission. SOS Humanity confirmed its arrival with 261 migrants on board in a tweet, saying that the journey had been very tough and the ship had faced 3-meter-high waves and strong winds.
Wherever there is fragility, poverty, children, women, migrants, a firm stand is required from every human being.
How to respond to requests for help from the charity boats that picked up migrants in the Mediterranean is a challenge for Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Italian Interior Ministry sources said the decision to allow the two ships to dock was based on the poor weather conditions and the risks faced by those on board rather than representing a change of policy.
Pakistan on Sunday said at least 6 civilians were killed and dozens of others injured due to unprovoked and indiscriminate firing by Afghan forces near the Chaman border crossing in southwestern Balochistan province. Heavy weapons, including artillery and mortars, were used in the firing by Afghan forces, according to Pakistan military's media wing.
When we crossed the border after that, we ran to the warehouse. In the beginning, there was a mortar shell directed at the village. It caused a fireball. A large group of people stood outside the gas pump with us. Again, a mortar shell came in and caused an explosion. After that, I lost consciousness and knew nothing.
To other news now. The Chinese capital showed timid signs of returning to normal a few days after the announcement of a general ease of health restrictions, which took place in the country for almost 3 years. At the same time, many businesses which had closed in recent weeks have resumed at half of their usual level. Public transport, especially buses, was, however, very far from being crowded, and some were even almost deserted. This is due to the fears of surge in cases once more.
These new policies are pretty good. It's good, it's been 3 years, and the public have already been mentally prepared and can accept these facts. The most important thing is to protect themselves well individually. Other than that, there is no much to fear, as national policies are getting better and better. We're comfortable. We were scared before, but not anymore. I didn't buy medicine, because if you get sick, you can always go to see the doctor. Accumulating medicine that is not going to be used, it's like hoping to get sick. It's a bad psychological suggestion.
And in our other topical news, a man accused of making the bomb that blew up Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie in Scotland in 1988 is in the custody in the United States. The US had announced charges against Abu Aguila Masood 2 years ago, and Scotland's Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service said he was now in custody. In 2020, the United States unsealed criminal charges against Masood, a suspected third conspirator, adding that he had worked as a technical expert in building explosive devices. However, the lawyer of one of the defendants declared that Abu Aguila Muhammad Masood detention is just, and I quote, one piece more in a puzzle built on monumental lies, end quote.
He is, as the Megrahi family decided, just another jigsaw piece in a jigsaw that is built on monumental lies, as far as the Megrahi family are concerned, which led to the humiliation of the Libyan people, the blaming of their father, Abdel Basit al-Megrahi, for a crime that didn't commit.
For more international news, let's follow this news in brief.
Clashes erupted between French police and fans of Morocco and France on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. The supporters smashed shop fronts and fights with police. The fans were celebrating victories by France and Morocco in the World Cup, sending them to the tournament semi-finals.
Protesters took to the street of Lima on Saturday to demand the freedom of former President Pedro Castillo and the closure of the Congress. Castillo was detained and removed from office shortly after he tried to dissolve the Congress, hours before lawmakers were set to vote on his impeachment. Angry Castillo supporters said protesters would keep on fighting until the Congress is shut down.
A Greek member of the European Parliament had her power as a vice president of the European Parliament suspended Saturday over a corruption probe implicating World Cup host Qatar that has ensnared 4 others and sparked calls for root and branch reform in the EU institution.
Protesters hit the streets in downtown Montreal throughout the day as the COP15 Biodiversity Conference officially got underway. A large police presence followed the protesters, with more officers waiting in buses near the perimeter of the convention center, where a giant fence has been installed. The police officers stepped out of buses as the demonstration approached the building, where access is restricted.
And in a lighter note, the European Film Awards, which honor the best European produced films of 2022, took place on Saturday at the Harpa Concert Hall in Reykjavik, Iceland. The awards are voted on by the European Film Academy, which currently has over 4,400 voting members. Triangle of Sadness, Ruben Östlund's biting takedown of the 1% was the big winner at the 35th European Film Awards, landing 4 trophies, including the top prize of Best European Film at the Gala Award ceremony. And finally, to some football news. Cristiano Ronaldo left the 2022 World Cup in tears as his chances to win the tournament for the first time in his career were shattered after his Portugal team was shocked 1-0 by Morocco in the quarterfinals on Saturday. The details in this report by Sofiane Kinturi.
Cristiano Ronaldo left the 2022 World Cup in tears as the hope of offering the first World Cup title to Portugal vanished by losing against Morocco in the quarter-final. Ex-Real Madrid star was seen escorted by the staff from the pitch to the dressing room at Tumama Stadium at the end of the game, where he couldn't hold back his emotions.
Winning a World Cup for Portugal was the biggest and most ambitious dream of my career. I fought for it. I fought hard for this dream. I gave my all. I left everything on the field. I never turned my face to the fight, and I never gave up on that dream.
Ronaldo has always been a crucial striker, but Portugal manager for the second time kept Cristiano on the bench. That pushed his partner Georgina Rodriguez to react.
Today, your friend and coach decided wrong. That friend for whom you have so many words of respect and admiration. That same one who saw you entered in the game, everything changed. But it was already too late.
Ronaldo's appearance was the 196th of his Portugal career, equaling Badr al-Mutawa of Kuwait for the most caps in men's international football. But unfortunately, he ended the last participation in this big tournament without claiming the title or even reaching the finals.
Well, this is the end of our program. For more news, visit our social media platforms as shown below on our screen. From me and the rest of the team, thank you for watching and bye for now.